Is Olufola also, and I work for Megathos Law Practice. Today we'll be talking about the $10 billion NLNG Train 7 project. I'll be addressing one of the frequently received questions that come in via email, and of course it's about the $10 billion NLNG Train 7 project. So the question basically is, Saipem Daewoo and Chiyoda have taken the lead on this project. How else can I play in the LNG space in Africa? Of course, charity begins at home. So we'll be using the $10 billion NLNG Train 7 project as a case study. So if you're asking if Saipem Daewoo and Chiyoda have taken the lead on the $10 billion NLNG Train 7 project, and if by chance you're not one of the accredited vendors, how else can you play in the LNG space? I think what we should do is just break down the clusters in the LNG value chain, as the primary clusters. Of course, it starts with upstream development, where we drill and we find the gas. Then we'll be talking about the LNG plants. Then we'll also talk about LNG transportation. Then we'll also talk about regasification. But using NLNG Train 7 as a case study, I will try to break down the value chain, starting from the first stage, the early earthworks, acquisition of the land, and clearing the land and things like that. I assume that those things will probably be done in-house. So the part where Saipem Daewoo and Chiyoda is at the EPC stage, and you remember that the oil and gas industry came up with different contractual models to deal with the level of risk and the value, the magnitude of those projects. Those projects are huge. Egina was $60 million, LNG Train 7, $10 billion. The Gorgon project in Australia was over $40 billion. Oil and gas projects are huge. So for looking back to the LNG Train 7 project, we'll be trying to break down the value chain. So early earthworks probably will have been handled in-house by NLNG staff. Then the EPC stage has the engineering, the procurement, and the construction stage. That will be handled by the consortium of Saipem, Daewoo, and Chiyoda. That stage will last for 5 years, and that stage will probably generate 12,000 direct jobs. That's a lot of jobs. And we also know that there will be indirect jobs. So it's possible that we can have a quantum of 40,000 indirect jobs or even 50,000 indirect jobs. But that will last basically for that 5-year duration. How do we know there's a 5-year duration? Basically, that's the plan by the project owners, because some of those LNG contracts where NLNG will be supplying LNG to Europe, some of those contracts are expiring by the year 2025. So the contractors basically are working with time to make sure that the new plant comes online before or by 2025. It's important that NLNG maintains that sterling reputation of a reliable LNG vendor. That's something that I've worked for and that earned over the years. So after the EPC stage, we'll also be talking about NLNG going digital. Even though NLNG has started it, I foresee the future where other oil and gas companies, or even better, other companies in other sectors will also want to go digital. What's the essence of going digital? You're going digital because you want to simplify your business processes, maximize your profits, reduce your risk, and reduce your cost. But there's a proviso there. In going digital, you also expose yourself to some level of digital risk, like the pipeline that was hacked in America, that was responsible for actually supplying plenty of refined petroleum products from the East Coast to the West Coast. We saw fuel queues in America. We saw people going to the filling stations as early as 6:30 a.m. So going digital has the advantages, but it also has a bit of its risk. Aside going digital, there's also the operations and maintenance stage in NLNG. There are 6 trains currently operational. And remember that the shelf life of each LNG train is approximately 50 years, between 40 to 50 anyway. So, but let's pick the upper limit of 50 years. So for the initial 6 trains, we're looking at least 300 years of operations and maintenance activities. Then for the Train 7, so even if you miss early earthworks, you miss the EPC stage, you miss NLNG going digital, you still have the operations and maintenance stage of approximately 50 years. So you're looking at trains 1 to 7 of approximately 350 years of operations and maintenance. But the catch is this, and that's something we treated very extensively in the Megathos LNG handbook of opportunities. It talks about the opportunities and the products and services that you can supply to the average LNG company. So what you need to do is get advice, talk to people that can put you through on what the value chain is and what you can supply either as a service or as a product in the operations and maintenance basket for NLNG. So even if Train 7 the EPC for Train 7 will take 5 years, operations and maintenance for all those 7 trains is over 350 years. So as a discerning businessman, you should be looking for low-hanging fruits that you can tackle. So with proper guidance, you would know whether or not the supply of gas turbines is a low-hanging fruit, or the supply of heat exchangers is a low-hanging fruit. Meanwhile, the current vendor that supplies gas turbines I had to actually replace one of those turbines when the LNG plant was still in operation. That was a stellar feat. It deserved a round of applause. So you should ask yourself, are you going to be able to dislodge such a trusted vendor, or the current vendor for heat exchangers? You remember that cryogenic industry is supported heavily by intellectual property, patents. Even the executive secretary had to admit that you cannot by local content wish away the intellectual property that protects the cryogenic activities. I hope that with this short video I've been able to address the value chain in the $10 million NLNG Train 7 project. I'm sure you have more questions, but so just send us an email via the contact form of www.megathoslaw.com. That's www.megathoslaw.com. We'll be waiting to hear from you.